Here are my top 5 tips for Monster Hunter Wilds after playing for 5 hours straight. So let's get right into it with stuff that you can do in the tent. These are things that you might want to do in between missions as it will generally help your life. So first of all, in the item menu, you can transfer items inside your item pouch. And the things that are nicest are you can, say you have a bunch of mushrooms or stuff that you gathered when you're out, you can transfer them from your item pouch into your item box. And then vice versa, if you're running out of potions, make sure to stock back up on them before you go out. Another thing with this, if you want it to be a lot quicker, instead of having to, go individually and do this, you can go into loadouts by hitting shift, at least on the computer, and then you can save your loadouts by hitting R, or you can load them by pressing F on them. So like this, you can use the loadout and then you're automatically set. And eventually, you might want to have set loadouts for different types of hunts. So that is really, really helpful. So definitely use that if you aren't. So moving on from there, you can choose what is automatically crafted in your craft list. I honestly haven't used this too much yet, just because I haven't, gone out and gotten the materials, because I'm still going through the campaign. But it's definitely something to know about. So moving on from there, you can change your equipment, but that's pretty obvious. Make sure that you're grilling a meal in between, fights, so that you don't run out of it. Meals don't necessarily last very long. Honestly, they're probably only good for one battle. So generally, I'm just going with the recommended meal. You can do custom meals as well if you want. You can add a ration and then add additional ingredients as well if you want. And yeah, so it'll do different things depending on what you add. And as you can see, it says down there, so for example, kunafa cheese sometimes decreases damage taken, or a jewel shroom reduces stamina depletion when performing stamina draining moves such as evading. So totally up to you what you want to do, but it is something to keep in mind. And the different rations that you eat also can give you different effects, as shown on the right side. There's a health, stamina, attack, we've got defense, and we have defense and also elemental resistances. So make sure that you're eating. It will make your life a lot easier. It does give you a bunch of extra health and stamina. So moving on from there, something you may not know, or it can be sort of hard to find, is you actually can change your appearance and your equipment appearance and your palico's equipment appearance over here on the right side in your tent. And this can be nice just depending on, what you want to do. So that's something to keep in mind. And then the equipment appearance can be nice too. You can always turn this off if you don't want to see the equipment but still wear it. So yeah, anyways, that is all for the tent. Moving on from there. So the next thing I'd suggest doing to make your life easy is make sure that you're keeping your gear and weapons upgraded at the smithy. It's definitely really, really important. So you can also say show your recommendations, but instead of that, I generally just like to go through and choose my own choices. So for weapons, you choose what weapon you're going for. And whenever you fight a new beast, make sure you go into the weapon tree and just take a look at what upgrades you can do. There might not always be an upgrade, but for example, I was originally using just the normal hope bow. If you get some iron ore, which can just be mined pretty much anywhere out in the world, it'll show it up on your map, so you don't even have to find it yourself. It's a pretty big upgrade, so it goes from 108 to 120. I didn't make that one though. I went for the Quematrice, I don't know how to say it, tree, because you get an element of fire as well, so it's a little bit extra damage there, I'd assume. And then moving on from there, as you go down, you can craft more stuff. As it says, this cannot be forged or upgraded yet, but it's just something to keep in mind for the future. And you can also choose to equip the item after you craft it directly from the forge, so you don't have to go back to the tent and equip it. You just have to craft it first and then do it. So it'll show you what is best. So for example, the bone Shotel 2 does a lot more attack damage than the hope. It's almost over 100 more. So yeah, so make sure you're upgrading your weapons, and you can also, if there's a specific weapon that you want to go for, you can add it to your wish list as well. So moving on from there, you can forge and upgrade armor. So far, from what I can tell, the better armors are at the bottom. So as you can see, these down here for the Doshiguma, the defense is 16, whereas as we go up, it goes from 12 to 8 to 6, and then all the way down to 2. So I've been crafting as many of the highest level armor as I can, as obviously that will make your life easier. So moving on from the forging, you can also forge your palico equipment. Don't forget about your little palico. I obviously have. And so yeah, so you can choose, and it just gives it more defense, etc., stuff like that. And I'd assume this would give you more damage as well. So the next thing I would note is definitely make sure when you pick out a new weapon or when you're trying out a weapon for the first time, make sure you come over to the training grounds. It's definitely worth it to just test out your weapon. I'm not going to go in there right now, but test out your weapon, figure out what the combos are. If you can't figure out like the combos, you can always look up a YouTube video on different weapons. I'll probably have a video coming out on the bow and the longsword eventually. I'm just not quite there yet. I don't trust myself to make a video on them yet. And yeah, but make sure you're messing around with the combos. It'll make it a lot easier than when you're in the pressure of fighting a monster. Moving on from the training grounds, make sure you come over here to the support desk. There's a bunch of stuff that you can do here that can be quite nice, especially if you have like DLC content and stuff. So they have latest news that you can look there. You can do your limited bounties. And then this is again where you can claim your DLC or get your DLC. So these are all free actually right now, so I would consider getting those. I probably hit escape too many times. Okay, no. And then you can also claim content. So for example, there's DLC, and then from the open beta tests, you can claim those as well. You can also manage your pop-up camps from here. These are pretty important, but I won't go into them too much right now. You can also edit your pop-up camps. So support desk is definitely very, very helpful. So now let's get into a couple of settings that I have become aware of that are definitely worth changing. They're both in controls. The first one, make sure you have auto sheath disabled. It can be really annoying to be in the middle of the fight and then your guy just automatically sheathes their weapon. Yeah, so that's just something you should have control over. Otherwise, it is pretty annoying. So moving on from there, personally, I would say that on the camera, it feels pretty zoomed in, especially when you're fighting like a big weapon or a big monster, late night. And I would personally have the camera distance zoom all the way out to 10. I think it starts at 4 and you're like super duper zoomed in. And I would change that all the way up to 10. It seems to help a lot. So you're also going to need to gather materials from the open world, and not everything that you're going to want will just be gathered on your way to whatever fight you're going for. So if you want to gather specific materials, the way you're going to want to do that is make sure you press M or whatever it is on controller to open your map. And then you can actually sort by, like you can sort on your map to find specific materials. So if I hit A, you can pull up the filters. And then, so for example, gathering, you can set this filter to either display all, and then you can find different types of stuff. But personally, I would go to gathering and then say you need to find like mining outcrops to upgrade your weapons. This way you can see all of the different mining outcrops in the area that you're in. And then you could set a waypoint and then, just travel directly there so that you can gather it. Definitely makes it really easy. And it's just something to keep in mind. It can be really, really helpful when you want to gather like a specific thing to craft something. Yeah, so just something to keep in mind. Definitely really important. And of course, you can change this to any number of things to find stuff and then set your waypoints. All right, one last tip for when you are in fights. I would highly suggest that when you need to use one of your control pad things, that you call your sacred, and then you can use it while you're riding around. It'll make it a lot harder for the monster to hit you. And especially like when I call the SOS flare, I definitely always do it from the back of the sacred. It's just a lot safer. And then same for healing and same for whetstones, etc. I would just highly suggest calling your sacred. And then additionally, that is how you switch weapons. For example, it's X on the keyboard. You can switch weapons while you're on the sacred and then jump back off to attack the monster. So anyways, I hope you all found this tip video helpful. I'll have more coming out quite soon, I'm sure. And yeah, if there's any specific guides or anything that you would like to see, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying Monster Hunter Wilds, and I'll see you next time.